I am so excited that I have the honor of introducing our guest speaker today, Mary Knight. Mary is the author of Saving Wonder, published by Scholastic Press, which won the 2017 Green Earth Book Award and a Parents' Choice Award, among others. Her second novel, What the Seahorse Told Me, published by Middleton Books, was just released this August. Both novels have received rave reviews from teachers, librarians, and young readers around the country. Prior to becoming an author, Mary was a professional writer for many nonprofit organizations, including the National Association of Unity Churches. As a licensed Unity teacher, Mary also served for 3 years as a spiritual leader of a Unity church in Whidbey Island, Washington, an experience which brought her a lot of joy while also convincing her that she is better suited to the writing life. That's the tea. Mary first attended Ahava back when it began, and we will be forever grateful for its community of inclusiveness and welcome. So we would like to welcome, with open hearts, Mary Knight.
Hey, great. Aloha. Oh, that's great. We didn't even have to practice that. But let's do it again. Aloha. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's great. It gives me energy. Okay, I have to do some housekeeping here. This goes here. Okay. Gosh, I am so grateful to be here with y'all today. And for this incredible welcome. Thank you, Carabelle. I appreciate you. Don't know you. Now I do. Didn't. Now I do. You know, almost immediately. I mean, you have this effect, right? And we're talking about aloha today, and I got that aloha welcome from Carabelle and from all of you. And so I feel right at home, and I should, because this is my spiritual home. So we're going to talk about aloha today. And one of the main qualities of aloha is that sense of welcome, which we do really well here. But there are other meanings to aloha that some of you may not be familiar with. And as I gathered my thoughts about this morning's talk and how it relates to the month's theme of pieces into peace, which I think is kind of mind-blowing, really, I realized that living aloha might just hold some answers for us. But as I was doing this, I also realized that fiction writing, or perhaps the structure of any good story, real or imagined, is a tale about someone on a journey from pieces to peace. Wow. I mean, this was worth the price of admission for me, you know, just to think that. That is what writers would call the protagonist's emotional arc. From a state of seeming separation, conflict, and struggle to a state of acceptance, forgiveness, and belonging. A coming together, as this morning's song suggested, but not just with each other, but within ourselves. From pieces to peace. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yeah. Believe me, it's not. And as any writer here, Margot, for instance, who helped me every step of the way with this novel, pieces into peace is not simple. It's not simple in writing, and it is not simple in life. And so let's talk about that. As my novel begins from the very first page, we realize that my main character, 12-year-old Sophie Kai Bender, is not at peace. Sophie's dealing with the loss of a sibling, for which she blames herself, something fairly common with young people who have experienced a loss. And her parents are overprotective, and she herself is afraid to take chances. Add to this, she has a highly developed ability to empathize with animals, which you might think is kind of cool, right? But it makes her feel different. She calls this her psychotelepathic weirdness. And she refrains from making friends, sadly, because she's afraid of being found out. So here's an example of just how difficult this is for her from the prologue. I'm going to read to you. Seahorses wear their skeletons on the outside. The old man in the booth tells me, when you dry them out, they hold their shape. He sounds excited, like this is the greatest news since the invention of the cell phone. But I'm suspicious and bored and pooped. I mean, my parents and I have been trying to have fun and be a family in Sarasota, Florida for the entire week. It's exhausting. And now, before heading back to Seattle, Mom insisted on making one last stop at this pathetic beachside flea market where some guy is trying to sell us his overpriced souvenirs. What a way to make a living, Mom says to Dad under her breath, dragging him off to the next booth. Come on, Sophie, let's go. I'm about to follow, but the vendor keeps yakking. Here, little miss, want to hold one? Before I know it, I'm holding a bleached white seahorse in the palm of my hand. I stare at the weightless frame, this delicate creature that once had a life, when suddenly everything goes black. Later, they'll say, I started shrieking at the top of my lungs. But all I remember is this white, hot, searing pain, like my skin had been dipped in acid and was melting right off the bone. Next, I'm running with an armload of seahorse souvenirs, heading for the ocean. Tourists scattering every which way. When Mom and Dad finally catch up with me, I'm belly deep in ocean water, as tiny, ghost white skeletons in the shape of S's float in and out with the waves. They do not sink. In the next chapter, Sophie figures out why this happened to her in Sarasota when she Googles seahorses and skeletons, or seahorses and souvenirs. Turns out that the souvenir market harvests millions of seahorses every year by putting them out in the scorching, boiling sun to die. What? What a world. To quote Sophie, not fun. When I read this prologue at my book launch, I asked the audience if given the choice, would they like to have this superpower of being able to extreme empathy and communicate with animals? And very reluctantly, less than a third raised their hands. And you can understand why, right? So, and yet, I'd be willing to bet that many of us here today, as young people, had similar feelings, maybe not quite so intense, but similar feelings when we were younger about, say, how an injured pet was feeling, or when we witnessed scenes on the news of some tragedy or other, or how about many of us, how we feel right now when we watch the news and we hear parents talking about children in a school shooting. So we all have this experience. That is, if we are decent feeling human beings. And in case you think that middle school age children can't understand these concepts or can't take the intensity of Sophie's challenges, think again. I've talked to them, hundreds of them over the years. I had a friend tell me recently that her granddaughter is reading my new book, What the Seahorse Told Me, in her school. And she told her, Nana, I know just how Sophie feels. So, as the story begins, Sophie's a mess. And then life, or spirit, or God intervenes. Come to think of it, I guess that's me that's intervening. and I intervene with a seahorse, but a live one this time. A gift from her father to make up for that terrible experience she had in Sarasota. And when Sophie receives a mysterious invitation to a summer camp in Hawaii, another intervention, she is filled with fear and anxiety about going. That is, until her pet seahorse, Buddy, tells her something. You'll have to read the book to find out what the seahorse told her and what propels her forward into the next stage of her life, into this adventure. So on Sophie's first night at camp, the camp's director, Tutu Malia, introduces the concept of aloha. Every summer, we begin the first week of camp focusing on the powerful idea of aloha. Tutu turns to a shy, quiet girl who introduced herself at dinner as Luana. In a gentle voice, Tutu asks, but why? Why do we begin our time together with aloha, do you think? Because it means hello, says Luana timidly. Yes, Tutu raises her stick in triumph like it was the best answer she's ever heard. But aloha can also mean goodbye, a boy named Honi chimes in. Yes, Tutu turns to him and raises her stick again. You're both right. And isn't it wonderful how a simple word like aloha can hold both ends of our time together like that? She looks at the ground and shakes her head in wonder. But aloha holds even bigger ideas than those simple greetings. Ideas like love, affection, peace, kindness, mercy, compassion. All ideas, all values wrapped up in that one 5-letter word. Isn't that amazing? But aloha is more than a word, my dear Keiki. Tutu pauses to look around the circle. Aloha is who we are. Love, affection, peace, kindness, mercy, compassion, big words, profound states of being. And they all sound really good, don't they? Like, I want to have me some of that aloha. But living aloha is far more challenging than that sweet, soft word would suggest. Take the value of compassion, for instance, and its relative empathy. We've already seen how challenging that can be for Sophie and for us. So again, how do we live aloha, live these qualities, these values, and find peace in the process? On Sophie's first day at camp, 2 of the camp elders, Andy and Uncle, have gathered all the campers down at the beach, and they're going to have a swim test, and they're going over some of the rules and how to be respectful of the land and its creatures. And they talk about the sea turtles, what they call honu, that frequent the beach. Oh, there he is. I met this one personally. Yes. And soon after, in this passage that I'm about to read, the reader receives their first glimpse of what it means to live aloha. Okay, let's take a deep breath together, because this is a scene that I really want you to get into. And it's quiet, but it's powerful, if I do say so myself. But hopefully you'll say it too after you hear it. My eyes scan the beach, and for the life of me, I don't see any turtles. I mean, honu. Then suddenly, like one of those magic pictures where objects lay hidden from plain sight, a honu appears, slowly, softly, as if emerging out of the sand. Its green and brown mottled shell blends with its surroundings. And then, slowly, I notice another, and then another. 3 in all, large heads curled to the side, eyes shut, napping. They look prehistoric. I wonder what they could tell me. Uncle speaks in a soft voice. The honu is the protective spirit of this place, my friends, the bringer of wisdom and good luck. It is our kuleana, our responsibility to protect the honu in return. That means we never pester them, and we always stay at least 12 feet away. Just then, a sparkling white tour bus pulls into the lot by the park shelter, unloading dozens of tourists, many with smartphones, recording everything around them. Half go in the direction of the restrooms, while the other half come streaming toward the beach, gaping and pointing at the honu. Suddenly, I have this impulse to wave my arms and shout, "Go back!" But I just stand there frozen, along with the rest of my Camp Koa buddies, staring at what we know is about to happen. "Oh no, Uncle, Andy, don't they know the rules?" Luana pleads. "The sign's right there at the entrance to the beach," Uncle nods. Unfortunately, many tourists choose to ignore it. "But can't we do something?" Luana begs. And I'm going to repeat that. Can't we do something? Uncle and Andy just shrug like they've seen it too many times before. The tourists are closing in on the honu fast. Suddenly, Luana's arms spring out to the right and left of her like wings, and in an instant, like she's flashed this image into each camper's mind, we all know what to do. Hands taking hands, we move up the beach as one body, one koa mind, with quiet Luana walking tall at the center of us all. Mere seconds before the tourists descend, we form a silent circle, 12 feet or so back, around the sleeping honu, who seem oblivious to the drama taking place around them. A young woman with long black hair, a pink tank top and shorts, pokes at Luana, asking her to step back so she can take a selfie with the closest honu. But we all know what that means. Selfies call for being close, and we stand firm, silent and firm. Uncle and Andy stand behind us, also watching. The honu closest to me on the ocean side of the circle raises her head slightly and then sets it down again in the wet sand. I open my mind to her and immediately feel the cool, wet pillow under her chin, the comfort of a much-needed rest, and the release of an inner sigh. A few of the tourists begin to squabble with us. "Hey, kids, get out of our way. What do you think? You own the beach? Yeah, these turtles are here for us too." I want to say, actually, these honu are here for themselves, but who's going to listen to a kid? Besides, I'm sensing something happening among the 3 honu, something being discussed. One of the honu's lids slowly opens, gliding over a dark, rounded globe of an eye. She sees shadowy figures knows them as not her kind, senses danger in their voices, their tone, blinks away the dryness of the sandy breeze, senses something else, something reassuring. I want to believe it's our circle. Nevertheless, there's a shift happening in all three of them, like when something gets decided. I nod at Luana, who nods back. Without talking, apparently we don't need to, I let go of Keola's hand and we open the circle to the ocean. Still connected with the others, we maintain a protective line between the tourists and the Honu they so desperately want to be close to. Slowly, the Honu stretch out their rubbery flipper feet and with heavy laden shells pull themselves ever so slowly to the water's edge. It's as if the weight of the world is pressing down on them. When they slip into the ocean, however, I can feel their weightlessness, like I could kick off the ground and fly. And fly they do, into a world where water's like air. The only thing left of them on the beach are 3 wide curving arrows of darkened sand tracks pointing toward the sea. Gee, thanks for spoiling our fun, kids, a man with hula dancers on his shirt says. I think about saying something stupid like, don't mention it, or anytime, but I'm proud to say we all stay silent as we brush by the tourists and head back to the picnic tables. Aloha is the only word we speak. You can applaud to that. I could feel it, and I knew you wanted to, and so I'll encourage it. Okay. So here's the deal. Living aloha isn't all sweetness and light. You know, you think about the beaches and the palm trees swaying and all that. And that's part of it. That is part of it, that beauty. But sometimes it means letting go, letting God. And sometimes it means taking a stand for something we care about, like these kids did on the beach that day. At one point in the book, Tutu Malia talks about the heartbeat of aloha, and that the hearts of the Hawaiian people are fierce. Considering all that they've been through, from missionaries to resort developers, you can understand the need for a fierce heart. A heart that protects. A heart that loves. Living aloha sometimes means having the courage to change the things we can so that the things we care about can live. Sometimes there is no peace until we do something. And sometimes it means joining with others to do something together because we all know that there's power in the joining. Living aloha is love in action. Aloha is a glue, the glue that binds all of those seemingly separate pieces of ourselves and the world together as one wholeness. And the process often begins with doing something good. Will Sophie eventually find peace? I guess you'll have to read the book to find out. I will tell you that there's a whole lot of doing something in the book and a whole lot of finding out together. And although I won't reveal exactly how Sophie finds peace, I can promise you a lot of fun, a lot of intrigue, and joy in the process. And I can promise you a happy ending. Aloha. Thank you.